Today we're going to discuss school choice and who it actually benefits and who will suffer. If you're new to my channel, my name is Mr. K. I'm a Marine veteran. I served as a grunt for 8 years, and I continue to serve now as a social science teacher in a public high school. So what is school choice? Let's get into it. The way public school works right now is every student that attends public school gets paid by the state a certain salary to that district. So in California, you're looking at $18,000 as of this year. It goes per student per year to the district. That district can allocate the funds the way they want to, and there are certain rules. Obviously, you have to have so many counselors and so on and so forth, special ed teachers, all that stuff. Now, school choice is something that's been brought up in the last few years on the conservative point of view. Donald Trump also likes school choice. The idea here is that money that state gives out to the district goes to you as a voucher, and you choose how to put your kid into school. If you want to put them in a private school or a public school, it's your choice. Sounds great. It's not. Now, this concept is kind of like running schools like businesses and how successful they are. I need to point out private schools are already run this way. And they have such things they have to teach from the state, which is ed code, but they also have their own private swing to things. So if you go to a Mormon school, they're going to tell you that Jesus Christ came to the United States with a large number of Jewish people, and they landed in Jackson, Missouri, and they established a cultural center there. Versus archaeologists and historians that would say, no, those were natives that lived there beforehand. But the Mormon faith would say that's not what it says in the Book of Mormon. And again, historians would say, well, that's not what we're going for here. The United States would probably say something like, hey, you know what? That's a violation of the First Amendment. But what if you took money that was supposed to go into the districts for public schools and you decide to put it into private schools like that? That doesn't sound good. Competition. Competition leads to the best schools surviving and the weaker schools dropping out. So the private schools will probably do well. Well, private schools, like businesses, have the right to refuse anyone. They can kick kids out for any reason. They don't have to take kids with learning disabilities. Kids that have these issues have something called an IEP, or Individualized Educational Plan. Now, by law, the schools have to follow these plans. However, private schools and charter schools can say, yes, we have to follow those plans if those kids are enrolled in our school. However, what if they do not go to our school? Then we don't need to do anything about it. Now, keep in mind, according to the state of California, just in California, 13 to 15% of the student population have IEPs. So that means a lot of students who have IEPs end up in public schools that cannot deny students from going to school, nor should they. The idea of public school is everyone is entitled to an education. So that's a population that is not going to go to private schools. Not to mention, let's talk about the obvious thing too, which is these private schools, now that are getting federal money, that means more people are going to want to go to their schools, which supply and demand means, the price is going to go up. So who's it really going to benefit? Private schools and rich kids. You might say, well, wait, this might mean the lower middle class can go to these schools now that they can afford them, because they get this voucher. Well, this voucher might be for, say, $18,000 in California, and you want to put your kid in, like, I don't know, Sarah High School in San Mateo, California, and it might cost something like $45,000 a year. You still can't afford it. Or, since more people now might be able to afford it, the price of tuition goes up. And with all that extra money going into those schools, a lot of that money that was going into schools that were designed to have everyone get an education, that decreases, which increases the chance of students not going to school and ending up on the streets, especially in lower income areas. And let's not talk about the ideas of, incarceration just a little bit. Let's take a little second to talk about it. A study was done in the state of Louisiana to see how many people in prison haven't graduated from high school. Now, they took statistics from nationwide, and what they came up with was 63% of people in prison don't have a high school diploma. So would this voucher system help everyone? Or would it help the wealthier people? And would it decrease funds for public schools, which means more kids are not going to go to school? But I know this gives limited government to schools because public schools have too much government in it. There's too much bureaucracy. The teachers union. I want to put my kid in a public charter school where they don't have a teachers union, which curriculum in a lot of charter schools happen to be packet work. Turnover rate for teachers in private schools are high. Now, the one benefit of having tenure is that I know at the end of the year, I'm going to have a job next year. Unless I did something terribly wrong, I know I'm going to have a job next year. I don't have to worry about that. Before you gain tenure, you're at will. And the school can just fire you for any reason. And a lot of states in the United States, in public schools, do that every year to teachers. And that sucks. You got a family. You got to know, where am I going to work next year? Am I going to be here next year? I think I did a good job. Did I do a good job? Well, that's how private schools and charter schools work. Now you might also think, hey, limited government, see, it sounds good. Well, that also means, like charter schools, they take government money and they're allowed to do whatever they want with it. You think that's a good thing? There is a high percentage of charter schools that fail. Why? Because they're businesses and some businesses suck. Or money's coming in from the government and people are embezzling it and using it in other places and getting caught by the FBI. You'd be surprised how often that happens in charter schools. It does happen. So I get if you like the idea of a voucher system. It makes sense if you're wealthy and you want to pay less for your private school. But the money that it's getting in, it's sucking dry from the areas where the population are impoverished, where they're relying on the school for a lot. Remember, public schools cannot turn away students.